let's keep it to an hour max, okay?
Perfect. Yep.
Yeah,
Hello
yeah.
and welcome to the two-man power trip of wrestling. I'm your host, JP John. Pause with me today, former WCW, WWF, TNA, ECW, you name it. He's been there. He's been a superstar for all of them. He is Mr. Eric Watts. Eric, welcome back to the two-man power trip. How you doing?
How you doing, brother? I'm doing well, doing well.
What's going on in your world?
Whew, that's a long one right there. Listen, I had retired 2005 due to injuries in pro wrestling, and then after that, I had companies anyway that I had built, and then I sold them off, and so then I went into business consulting. And man, both my kids are incredible. My daughter's entering her senior year at the Naval Academy, 6'1" beast of a basketball guard and cyber information. WWE is just trying to, you know, put the hooks in her. But I don't think they've got it yet. That she's committed to the she's U.S. government, right? As soon as you go
Hmm.
to one of the academies, you're U.S. government. But they've been trying to work with the Naval Academy, work something out. Who knows if the WNBA may want her? I don't want either to want her.
Mm. Yep.
Cyber information, baby. She will make more money
Yep.
doing that, and she loves our nation. I got my son running around here in Atlanta, and so I stay busy and I travel a lot. I don't know. Did you follow TNA much?
Yes. Oh yeah.
Oh my gosh, man! A week ago, uh, um, I went down to McDonough, Georgia. I've never seen Goldilocks.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Per- yeah, I've never seen her perform live. And bro, I can't put it into words. This place was going crazy, and she has all these different ways to include the audience. And so I brought my girlfriend, and then Elik Skipper showed up, from TNA, and man, we had an incredible time. And yeah, I think I hurt myself dancing out there, going crazy. And I tell my girlfriend, I said, "Man, next time we do this, I got to get a hotel, man. We got a little bit wrecked, you know,
Yep.
and had to drive 2 hours back. And of course, the day she plays on the south side of Georgia, we had to drive through two concerts were in Atlanta sold out: Janet Jackson and Taylor Swift.
Oof.
And so we drove through there, but brother, I gotta be honest with you, man. I love both of those ladies, Janet and Taylor, but Goldie crushed it, just crushed it. So, man, that's what I've been doing, just living life and loving life.
Man, that's a little bit of a throwback to TNA days. You're like the director of authority again at
Yeah,
TNA. Yeah.
it was funny. I think I threw something on social media. I said I'm gonna take my real girlfriend to meet my on-screen girlfriend in a concert.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah. And the girl I date, I've dated her for about 6 years. She knows wrestling kind of, but she didn't meet me because of wrestling. So she's kind of new to the whole TNA and Goldilocks and all that. And let me tell you what, Goldie entertained and my girl said, man, I just met her for 10, 15 minutes twice, and I feel like we're best friends. So it was a great time. Great time.
When you look at wrestling today, do you follow it much? Do you pay attention much? Or no, that's kind of in the rear view?
No, not at all. I don't watch it at all. I feel embarrassed when I get asked about it occasionally. I was at DDP's surprise wedding. That's a whole new story. Let's see, not last December, December before, and I'm sitting there. It's a Thursday night, and I'm like, I know some of the people there, quite a few people. I said, hey man, those guys look like wrestlers. Oh, that's the Uzos. I go, okay, who's that? And so I'm
Hmm.
asking people. Now I knew Mark Marrow, of course. Me and Mark know each other very well, and Rob Van Dam, and so forth and so on. But quite a few young people showed up too, and I just didn't. I don't keep up with it now. it's kind of a love-hate scenario, right? Um, I think mentally I don't keep up with it because, I also wrote quite a bit, and helped in creative departments. And I think my issue is it's almost like an ex-drug addict, right? Like why even fantasize about the drug if you can't take the drug or whatever, which might be a horrible parallel. But wrestling, like Dusty Rhodes told me, he called me because he's the one that set up one or two of my first matches after I'd been training for like 22 days, 23 days. I was driving back to Louisville to go back to college. He said, "Hey, baby, I want you to get in the ring." And I'm like, "What?" I've only been in the ring 23 days, but I did it. And then he said another day, he goes, "Hey, the next day is this, and the next day is this." And on the third day that I wrestled all these towns on the way to Louisville, he had me call him, because back then, it wasn't cell phones, it was a pay phone, call him up, Grizzly Smith was saying, "Hey, Dusty wants to talk to you." He said, "Hey, baby, what was it like?" I said, "Dream." I said, "I played football in Japan against Syracuse. My first college start was at a sold out University of Ohio on ESPN. I've been on literally what I would Fiesta Bowl champions against Alabama. I've been on the biggest stages athletically, um, that anyone could be on. I believe. Okay, and I said, "Dream, I've never felt anything like it." And he said, "You're effed." I said, "Excuse me, sir." He goes, "You're done." I go, "Sir." He goes, "You're never going to find anything." Uh, Anything to take you to where you are. No natural high, no high, no anything. Because maybe being there for one of your children's births. And literally, he was right. He said, "There's nothing more engaging and more stimulating than being there for a crowd to tell a story, to hear them cheer, boo, cry, laugh." And he was so right. And he told me, he goes, "Hey, brother, I know you think you're gonna go back and finish your master's." He goes, "But you're not gonna need your degree." I said, "Sir, I've already, I want to come to Atlanta after I get my master's. I want to work out some more." He goes, "No, I need you tomorrow at the center stage." And he goes, "I got a contract for you, and your fourth match in front of people, your 27th day ever in the ring is going to be at center stage, WCW, Saturday Night Live." And I'm like, oh. I couldn't say no. So I turned my car around, drove back, called my fiance in Louisville, said, "Hey, finish your classes. I'm signing a contract. I'm going to go pro wrestle." So, but with that being said, it makes it. I think it makes it very difficult for me to watch because I've always got input. My mind's like, "Oh man, that was incredible," or "That was awesome," or "I'd like to call that person and tell them how awesome they did," or "You know what, that angle could have been a little bit different, or that finish could have been a little bit different." In no way critiquing, like I'm not saying I could do better per se, but sometimes my creative mind goes crazy, and maybe that's because of my dad. I mean, I believe that wrestling was in my DNA. It paid for every one of my meals as a kid. It paid for all my kids' meals when they were babies. And wrestling's been a part of my life ever since I, took the first breath of air. Now that doesn't give me the keys to the kingdom to say that I know all and am all, but I will say, generations and generationally and being around it as much as I was around it, maybe that gives me some advantages or disadvantages. I don't know, but man, my creative juices just go through the roof watching it. So it's more like I don't watch it not to frustrate myself because with my injuries and all the other stuff, I still think I can get in the ring, do another match. I can't tell you how many times I wanted to call Hunter or call Sting or call some of the people that I know that are still in the business at AEW, WWE, and blah blah blah, and put my hat in the ring and see if they're interested. But I've kept myself from doing it the whole time. And so I think it's just my way of not watching to not drive myself crazy because
Gotcha.
I love wrestling, man. I love pro wrestling.
So it was actually Dusty that got you in, not your dad that was kind of getting you in.
Well, let me say this because I don't want people thinking that I was or that I'm trying to divert, right? I think what happened is as a child, my mother made my father promise her that none of his children could get in the ring prior to having a college degree. And she had very good case studies. The Grahams, the Gagnes, the Rhodes, the Von Erichs, the blah 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 blah. These are all close friends of my father, right? And what she said was, because my dad, he got drafted to the Houston Oilers. He had not graduated from University of Oklahoma yet. My mom went to high school, but she was fresh from overseas. She lived 7 years. Her country was a free country called Estonia, and then Russia came over and said, "Hey, you guys go to war every once in a while. You guys don't have much equipment. Why don't we throw some stuff over here to scare some people off?" And so he's like, okay, that sounds good. And they brought the tanks and they brought the things in and then turned them on the country and took over the country. And so my mom's parents, which owned the post office, the leather shop, so much in the county they were in, very affluent. They felt that if they could not have the freedom of religion and speech, that they would rather try to escape and die than be in a communist country. So they took a whole bunch of jewelry and stuff and snuck out. On the way out, they're actually in a milk wagon. like we're not talking about cars and stuff, like a milk wagon.
Hmm.
And they got to a checkpoint and one of the kids kind of coughed or sneezed. The father jumped out and they were so excited that they have him because the family was so well known that they took him. And man, I mean, I don't know, it depends on your faith and stuff. They didn't check the wagon. And in it was my mom, her two sisters, a brother, and her mom. And they got through the checkpoint. They bartered with a ship that had been hit in one of the wars, and they didn't know how far it would get. And so it got to Germany and started to sink. Well, there they took people that were people without a country, let's say, and they stuck them in the concentration camps, which they called deportation camps, because if you were Jewish, they didn't light you up, which was just a horrible experience. But there they stuck together. They could have come in pieces, but the family stuck together and said, we will not go as one, we'll go together. So it took them 7 years before they were sponsored by a church out of Oklahoma City to go to the United States. And my mom and dad met in high school. Then my dad went to college. Then he went pro. And then my dad got into pro wrestling because Houston Oilers, he knocked out the coach there, got traded. Then was up at Minnesota Vikings. Vern Gagne, you saw him, heard his story, loved it, and got him into pro wrestling. So and how my mom and them got back together was my dad selling out. From what I understand, the fastest sellout of Madison Square Gardens ever, uh, electronic tickets. Him and Bruno Sammartino, and so he's working for Vince's father at the WWF to take you back. And he was going through New York, and my mom was a model, and he saw her on a billboard and got a hold of the agency and said, hey, because he told me the story. He said, some of the guys said, I used to date her, and they're like, yeah, I'll shut up. and so yeah, he ran down the model agency, and they started talking and getting together, and ended up getting married. So my mom's like, hey, Bill, you didn't have your college degree. I don't have my college degree. And he goes, I love all the wrestling families, but these kids that are raised in the business, what do they have if they don't make it in the business? And so it was a thing to get your degree. So I knew everything about wrestling, setting up rings, lights, camera, action, so much stuff. But he never allowed us to get in to learn the psychology or get in the ring at all. And so when I graduated, I had my agent, which I was going to go pro. Looked like I was going to go to Tampa Bay, sixth, seventh round, right? I'm not, yeah, I'm not saying the first few rounds, right? So I was going to back up to Berg, and I was just offset by football, man. So much politics, so much craziness. And so I was interviewing my fiance at the time. Her dad was vice president of Georgia Pacific, which was in Atlanta. So I was interviewing, and then my idea was is to get my master's, go to Georgia Pacific, work. So when I was in between a few classes, because when you get in your master's, you got to do a thesis class, and it's kind of hilarious because I could have got my master's earlier, but the thesis classes were sold out, right? So I left 9 hours. I'm like, okay, I'll do this. I have to put it up in the next semester. So in between, I did call up my father and said, "Hey, Dad, I love to bounce around the ring to see what the hell it feels like." He goes, "Hey, son, no free lunches. I got a great friend of mine named Jody Hamilton, Mask Assassin, and he's got a little school on the south side of Atlanta. And if you want to bounce around in the ring, I can call him, and I'll give you the number, and you can call him and see what." He goes, "But listen to me, son. Doesn't matter who you are or what you are. You've got to make your way into that school, and you have to do the time in the school before, because I was thinking, hey, just get in the ring and just run around the ropes and do some stuff. But no, I had to actually get enrolled into the school. And so I was there for 23 days, and I was 21, 23 days. And then I had to get back. So I left on a Friday. I had classes starting on Monday. Dream asked me to do a match on Friday in Franklin, Tennessee. And I said, okay. But I didn't even know what I was going to wear, right? So I got there. I wrestled the match. Already getting hazed. I went to the babyface locker room. Rick Steiner's there, which I've known since I was a kid. And he goes, "What the heck are you doing here?" I'm like, "Well, we'll wrestle a match." He goes, "What?" Because no one really knew. No one knew I was there, but I knew a few of the guys, right? He goes, so he hazed me immediately and said, "You don't deserve to dress in our locker room. You dress in the concession stand." So I literally was sitting there with about four old ladies popping popcorn, and I put a towel on and got dressed in the concession stand, right? And so had that match, and dude, it went with like a blink of the eye. I could barely remember anything. And so when I got out, Grizz said, "Hey, Dream wants you to call him." So I went to the payphone, called him. He said, "Hey, bro, would you like to run that back?" And I think he said Chattanooga. And I said, "Oh, brother, I don't even remember that match. I'd love to." And he said, "Yeah, tomorrow, Saturday night." I said, "Okay." And so then I ran it back, and dude, then I got to relax just a little bit and absorb it and enjoy it. Um, I was just tickled. So Grizz, after I got out of the ring, goes, "Hey, Dream wants you to call him." So I said, "Okay." So I called Dream again, and Dream's like, "Hey, baby, one more." And it was Nashville, which these towns are on the way from Atlanta. Franklin's a little bit to the right, but Chattanooga was on the way. Nashville was on the way to Louisville. He said, "Why don't you hit it back in Nashville?" I said, "Brother, I'd love to." And so that brings us up to what I told you before. When I got out of the ring, he said, "Call me." And I did. And he asked me what it was like. And I said, I can't put words to it. And he goes, "Hey, fourth match in front of an audience after 21 days of school. Saturday Night Live, WCW." So, yes, my dad was the president of WCW, but Dream was the one that contacted me to ask me to go wrestle. I think when my dad wanted hands off, and I got to be honest with you, I've never asked my dad. Maybe my dad wanted me to go try out and fail or fall on my shit. I don't know. I don't know. You know what? Things are going so fast. And I wasn't ready, who's ready after 21 days in the ring? But Sarge, Buddy Lee Parker. He took care of me. He's who I trained with for 21 days. That's who I wrestled my first 3 matches with. Matter of fact, my 4th match, WCW. And so, looking back at it, I'm one of my worst critics. So I'd beat myself up because I tried to compare myself to other people that were wrestling. And then I had to let it soak in and say, hold on, my 4th match was on TV, and I'm judging myself with, Stone Cold Steve Austin and Brian Pillman and Sting and Steiner and Raven and, blah, blah, Arn Andrews. I'm sitting there trying to equate this in my brainstem, but until I started doing podcasts after my career was over, did it hit me? I'm like, hold on, 24 days in the ring was the 24th day ever of my life in the ring was on TV. I don't know, not too bad,
Yeah,
and
usually takes like a year, right, or so. Right?
shit, man, God bless you if you can do it in a year. And I'm not trying to pump myself up. I know guys that they wrestle in indies 3, 4, 5, 6 years before getting on, major federation, right? But even the guys that were coming out of the power plant, people I knew, personal people I knew, 1.5 years, 2 years, every day. I mean, I can't imagine, But let me say this too. Let me say this as well, though. There's a phase though, right? And that's why I was so hungry to wrestle so much. I think my first 3 years I averaged like 302 matches a year. And I was always hungry to keep that pace because I wanted to learn. But I also was hungry to wrestle at different federations and with different wrestlers, So I loved it over in Germany. I loved it in Japan. I loved it in all these different places, ECW, TNA, WWE, WC. I mean, we can just keep on going, right? Because everyone had a kind of a different style, Like I think when my dad was running Mid-South, there was 23 territories. And so what would happen is you'd come in, Shawn Michaels, he asked me when I was at WWE, he said, hey, brother. I go, what's up, baby? He goes, hey, can you give me some footage? All my kids have seen is me being a superstar. Can you give me some footage from Mid-South and send it to me? I said, yeah. And so I called my brother, Mike. I said, hey, bro, can you put like 8, 9 matches on like a DVD and send it to Shawn Michaels? He goes, yeah. He goes, that'll be about 14 minutes of matches.
Wow.
and
All squashes.
So he did. He said to him, well, shit, I didn't keep up with it, right? And I didn't even remember Shawn necessarily in Mid-South, right? Right off the top of my head, I don't remember all the athletes. I mean, I remember most of the athletes, but the athletes that stuck around, right? And Shawn called me, and because I was gone after a while, and he called me, goes, I don't know whether to thank you or hate you. I said, what? He goes, well, my whole thing is I wanted to show my kids that I had to build my way up to stardom, and that, yeah, you see me as the Heartbreak Kid and all the fans going crazy, but I wanted to show you that I started at the bottom. He goes, but Erik, your brother sent me these matches, and I'm so effing depressed. I don't know. I don't know if I want to show my kids. And so I made a quick joke back to him. I said, Shawn, honestly, though, I did talk to my brother and I talked to my dad, and they both knew, they both said, hey, we knew he was going to be a superstar someday because they'd never seen anyone take such a good ass whipping.
Yeah, true. Yep.
Listen, old school, right? Old school, it was to learn how to sell. And this guy, his bumps and his selling and his charisma was just on point, right? Just on point. And but it was a funny, back and forth. But yeah. So I think what happened was, I think that Dream was such a good person, and he understood the heat for generations and generations. I mean, hell, his son was a WCW. Dustin was a WCW, just getting beat up in the sheets and just ridiculed. And I think Dustin is one of the best wrestlers, I mean, like he's in the top, he's in the top 50, to
He's
me.
amazing. He's awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah.
in history, top 50, right? Um, so he understood it, and I think so. I think Dream said, "Hey, baby, but, cowboy." A lot of times they call him the Hat. I think he wanted to say, "Hey, let me check this kid out," and because it was nothing to do with my dad. He knew I was at the school, and I guess he knew my schedule, and going back to finish my master's, and he just threw it. Everything's timing in this world, right? I mean, what the hell? It just so happened that there's 3 towns being run before Saturday night live, which a lot of people don't know. It was never live, and it was filmed on Mondays. And it just so happened that I'm going to Louisville, Kentucky. From Atlanta, you got to go Atlanta, Chattanooga, Nashville, to Louisville. So
Yep.
it was all in the cards. It was all in the cards. Yeah, it cracked me up because I had to call my fiance and say, "Hey, baby, you need to come down." She's, "Why?" I said, "I'm not coming back." She goes, "What do you mean you're not coming back?" I said,
Hmm.
I'm gonna go sign a contract to wrestle. She goes, "You're gonna do what?" I thought you just went down there to get in the ring. I said, "Baby, I'm signing a contract." And she drove down, and it was hilarious because I could go on forever, man. But we were sitting there, and she's like, "What are you gonna wear?" I go, "I don't know." Right. And so all I had was, like, I had my football pants. I'm cutting them off and doing shit. And we were like laughing so hard. I'm like, she's like, "Hey, baby, I've been watching wrestling. I mean, these guys like shave their chest and their arms." Like, shave their chest? I'm not shaving my chest and arms. That's crazy. Like
Right.
that's stupid. And so I said, "Okay, well, maybe I'll just, shave around my belly button and stuff." Oh, good job. Right. So as soon as you do that, you look dumb as hell. And so then I'm like, "Okay, I'll shave my chest." And then she's like, "Okay, well, nah, your arms look, you gotta shave your arms." So now I'm shaving my arms, and then we got to the armpits. I'm like, "I am not shaving my arms." So we're going back and forth.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, dude, this is the night before. Like, I have enough problems. I mean, if you think about it, right? My 25th match, or 25th time in the ring, 24th, 25th time in the ring, is going to be on WCW Saturday night. And here we're like laughing until we're crying, just pounding beers because we're thinking, "Oh, what did I get myself into?" Right. And forget the fact that I don't even know how to throw a punch yet. Right. It's just, elbows and stuff. So, yeah, man, it was chaotic and crazy. But, I think Dream was so beautiful because by him doing that, it kind of protected me some. I mean, I got a lot of people saying that I was probably the most brutalized in back than any wrestler in history per se. Um, I felt it, but I just had a different. I have a different take on life. The way my parents raised me, I felt worse for the people that wanted to put heat on me than the heat, because I felt bad for them, because I did not ever need anyone in the back to qualify me as a wrestler, you know. And this is no dig, but when I came in, um, I might have been one of 2 or 3 people that had a college degree. I I was one of 3 or 4 athletes that were Division I scholarship athlete. I mean, Steve Dr. Death Williams was, Rick Steiner was, Scott Steiner was. Um, oh my goodness, well, what's his name? He was a beast too, a really good amateur wrestler, national champion, I think. Oh my goodness. I keep on thinking Mankind, but not. So you did not have a whole bunch of people. You didn't have a whole bunch of college athletes and people with degrees. And to me, you know, I'm not going to sit here and listen to people degrade me or beat up on me that couldn't even make it to college. Yeah,
Yeah. Yep.
However, they looked at it different, and the other portion was, I felt really bad for the people that tried to get in with the in crowd by just talking shit about me, so that they had something to talk about with the upper talent. because minus that, they would have nothing else to talk about. And I'm thinking to myself, like, guys, you are going to talk shit about me, and I will be wrestling way past the time you wrestle. And I don't come and not achieve goals. So your heat on me for a year, or 2 years, or 3 years, it will fade. It will fade, but I won't. You know. And so I think that comes from my dad, my mom, and goals and achievement and athletics and academics. I came out of high school with academic awards. I graduated Louisville. I was an All American scholastic athlete, which they only give 11 on the offense and 11 on the defense. So that means that I was within the top 22 scholastic Division I athletes in the nation. So, and I don't say that like braggatory. I'm saying like that was some of my goals. I was always on the presidential honor roll. I was always up high on the GPAs because I didn't go to college to just get a degree. I came to conquer things and do things. But I will say this: I also came to be a Heisman Trophy winner, and I didn't. I also came to be a drafted number one in the NFL draft. I didn't. But like I tell some people that I podcast with, I tell them, I go, I think what I appreciate my mom and father for the most is they would say, shoot for the stars, shoot for the moon, you know, because if you miss, you still took yourself out of the atmosphere. You hit the clouds, you hit the whatever, right? And the way I was trained is they go, so few people in this world believe enough in what they want to achieve and themselves that they hope to shoot for a treetop. you know and here's the issue. I'm not making fun of people. If you shoot for a 30-foot treetop and you miss it, the highest you could go is 30 feet.
Right.
I was never shooting for 30 feet. I was shooting for 3,000 feet. And I also believe in this world, in this life, your attitude determines your altitude in life. And therefore, I've always been secure in the fact that I didn't do wrestling because I had to. I didn't have to do wrestling to pay my bills. My father gave me zero financial anything. That was one of his things. He goes, I make my money. It's not yours. Like, I laugh because I saw Shaquille O'Neal not too long ago on TBS, and I love Shaquille, right? And and he said, I had a talk with my kids, and they said, Daddy, we are rich. And Shaquille goes, no, 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 you got that wrong. I'm rich. You guys are broke. and,
Nice. Yeah.
and I can so relate with it because that's the way I was raised. And not being mean, that's just old school, right? And so yeah, man, I pro wrestled over 300 days a year. My first 3 years, I built a paint company. At the same time, I built a turnkey company. At the same time, was doing motivational speaking on my few days off and giving back. And I was pro wrestling over 300 days a year because I knew at any time, God forbid, I had a horrible injury. I don't want to just sit and hope the stock market's doing good and this is doing good and that's doing good. And so, thank God for an entrepreneur mom and a father. And yes, I wanted to be the greatest wrestler of all times. It saddens me because there for a long time when I first came in, they put me to follow Barry Windham and Dustin Rhodes. And Dustin even came on a trip to Louisville when I was in Louisville. He wasn't offered a scholarship. He was offered to walk on at Louisville, but he came on a visit, so they were interested, right? And so they put me with Dustin and Barry, and so I'd ride on the road with those guys to pick their brain, understand things, and all that. And man, the torture I saw for quite some time with Dustin Rhodes. He's like, I'll never be my father. I'll never feel his footsteps. And inside it would just crush me. I'm thinking, why in the hell would you ever want to be Dusty Rhodes? Like, this is no disrespect to Dusty Rhodes. It's no disrespect to Cowboy Bill Watts. It's no disrespect to Stone Cold Steve Austin. I didn't want to walk into any of those guys' footsteps. I wanted to trample them. I wanted to be the best of all times. And I had my goals, right? I'm breaking in 1992. And, 92, I'm 25 years old. I already know that, your best years in pro wrestling realistically are 35, 38 to 45, because now you've learned Shakespeare. So I already knew ahead of time that I had to bust my ass for the next 10 to 13 years to be in my prime. And that's what I was running. That's what I was running to do, is be in my prime. Think about Benoit, his life, however you feel about it, cut short. And imagine that man. He would be just now retiring, right?
Yep.
Think about Randy Orton. If he did not have the injuries and the out of ring problems, he might be the most decorated pro wrestler of all times. Now, The Rock, caught movies. Stone Cold broke his neck. So there's those things. But you think of some of these guys, and they could be the Mount Rushmore of pro wrestling. That's what I wanted to do. It's just that my career got cut short, ruptured my esophagus, and one or two other things happened, and I had to exit pro wrestling. And so again, for your listeners, I'm not bragging like I'm the greatest thing in the world. I'm telling you the real. I wanted to be the greatest wrestler of all times, and guess what, people? I didn't make it. So, but Heisman Trophy, no. Drafted number 1 in the NFL, no. Greatest wrestler of all times, no. But by trying my hardest to achieve those things, I'm pretty decorated. And I can, I only do a podcast here and there. I get asked all the time. I don't think I'm the most famous person in the world, but people recognize me. So I believe that has to do with the work and the hard work that I put in, and the respect I got from it. Again, back in the day, people wanted to be mean. I was an easy target. I remember when Dustin saw me, he gave me the biggest hug. I'm like, Dustin, how you doing, brother? He gave me a huge hug. I'm like, we know each other, but we're not like that good of friends. He goes, hey, Erik, I love you. I go, I love you too, buddy. He goes, no, I love you're here to take the heat off me.
Oh, boy.
And boy, within a few weeks, I knew what he was talking about, right? So, yeah. That's
Was that a
story.
big problem, like in your career though? Like, oh, he's building with his son. Here's the heat. You know what I mean? Is that huge?
Oh, brother, man. I don't even have to bring it up, man. Listen to some other podcasts and shit. It was the flames were so hard and so intense and so ridiculous. I can't tell you. Like I can't even tell you how dumb it was. When I signed with WCW, there was a rumor that I signed for a 7-figure contract. And whatever. And that I demanded a 944 turbo Porsche as a signing bonus.
Oh my
God. Okay. I did drive a 944 turbo that I earned through all my business endeavors when I was 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, before I went to college. And I did get a sweetheart deal. It just so happened that the Porsche, they gave me a great trade-in on my Trans Am, and the Porsche was University of Louisville Cardinal Red. And so I did get an incredible deal.
Nice.
But baby, my Porsche was a 1987 944 turbo. What athlete in this world would demand $1 million contract and say, "Can you buy me a 5-year-old Porsche?" so
Right,
so
right.
this so the, so then my dad got pissed, and he actually went and took my contract and posted it at the TV arenas, and people just saw
Wow.
my just to shut him up, right? Um, but no matter what, I mean, and some of the ribs went too far, and way too far. There were ribs that just should never be done. Like, one time I went to the bathroom and someone broke um, like some Coke bottles and stuck them into my work boots and put my boots back in my bag. And so the first time I stepped into that, cut my foot up pretty good. Um, Now, I will say Sting saw it and a few other guys saw it and they went berserk. They're like, hey, hazing someone, breaking a rookie in's one thing, and they went ape shit, and which I was embarrassed because I'd rather them not do anything because I'm like, but at a certain point, guys, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing? Right? I mean, like, when do the ribs stop? And do and to me though, what ignorant people do, they do stupid things thinking it's going to break your will, and they just had the wrong dude, man. And listen, the greatest thing that happened to Dustin is when he went to WWE and they made him Gold Dust. And me and Dustin used to have fun in the back because we would talk feminine every once in a while with that voice, and
Mm.
we would do as a joke, as a joke. I mean, we would do it all the time, and people would just bust out Pillman and Austin, and they'd be, "Hey, Erik, do that voice," and Dustin, do that. You guys talk to each other, and we would do it. And then I'm thinking to myself, "Oh my goodness, he goes to WWE and he does Gold Dust, right?" Which was his like feminine character, right? And and he got over so much that by the time I got to WWE, the LGBTQ community found out that he was not um, gay, gay, lesbian, whatever you want to do, and they got so because they were praising him. They got so mad that they started picketing events outside of WWE, and Vince at first was going to fight it, and then they said no, and told him to stop being, like the kiss the guy, like he would put you in the corner and kiss
Oh
you,
yeah.
and he
Yep.
had to stop those things. But the one incredible thing was that I watched is he got in that gold and black, brother, and he became Gold Dust. And he then had to be Gold Dust. He did not have to be Dustin Rhodes, the son of Dusty Rhodes. And brother, he just took off. And I mean, I think he's still wrestling now, and he's in the best shape I've ever seen him in. And I'm telling you, pound for pound, pound for pound, I would put Dustin against anyone else that's wrestling in the ring today as the best psychology of any wrestler right now.
He's
You can put him
unbelievable.
with
Yep.
you can put him with whoever you want. Who do you want? Just who do you want? You know, and I mean Sting, as beat up as Sting is, I mean, put Dustin against Sting, put Dustin against anyone. He could wrestle a broomstick. The guy's phenomenal. But I don't know if he would be the guy. I don't listen. He was a great worker when I got there. I was blown away about how his psychology and his work, right? Um, but you could feel that shadow when he was in the ring. Matter of fact, he even like kind of bowed to Barry Windham, right? And listen, Barry Windham's one of the greatest workers
Yeah.
of all times too. So it's not like you're bowing down to someone that but you could tell he was in his shadow as well. And then, man, he goes up to WWE, and listen, it wasn't an easy fix, and Vince will sometimes put people in characters which you're wondering, is he trying to break a legacy or is he trying to hurt someone, right?
Hmm.
So I think Dustin had that going through his mind for a while, and then he just sold out to it and absorbed it. And I'm telling you from a guy that was there, we all would sit in the back waiting for a Gold Dust segment because we just he was so, he was just so good. He was just,
Yeah.
I mean, he was just yeah. So I mean, God bless him. I haven't talked to Dustin in 30 years, um, uh, but man, I give him a big hug, man. He's done well.
When you look at him being Goldust, when you go in and you're Techno Team 2000 with Chad Fortune and you're doing that whole gimmick, do you like that, or do you think like, oh, what the hell is Vince doing here? Like he's Goldust, we're Techno Team 2000. Like, do you like how he's kind of going to these weird kind of avenues for these gimmicks?
Great question. All right, so remember, I graduated my first degree in 3 years. Okay, and I went to the business school, and I was going to do my MBA JD, which is your Juris Doctorate, so a business law degree, which just came out when I was in college. Matter of fact, the last 2 years I was in college. So I knew about marketing and all these things, right? So a lot of people don't know this. It was a true fact. Vince paid a whole bunch of money to a marketing company to say what are the kind of names that stick with people and people remember and blah blah blah. And the marketing came back and said things that rhyme and things that repeat themselves. And as soon as I heard that, I go, "Oh, shnikes!"
Not good. Yep. Yep.
Because when I tried out as Eric Watson and Chad Fortune, man, we didn't even know what our names were going to be for a long time. But if you think about it, Troy and Travis, Techno Team 2000, that's a lot of T's, brother. That's a
Yes.
lot of
Yep.
T's, right?
Yep.
Skip and Zip,
Yep.
right? The Bonnie Donnas, Bart and Billy, the smoking. I was like, okay, we're doing overkill, right? like everything was going to freaking rhyme, right? So this is the one thing I never want to do. Vince McMahon was so good to me, and I 100% believe it was out of respect for my father. I do. He's so good to me that I've heard a lot of bad things about Vince, but I'm that kind of dude that I'm not going to throw shade on someone until they've done it to me. Like I'm not going to say, oh, he's the nicest person in the world, but I'm going to say, well, in my relationship, Vince was incredible. Okay, not a lot of people say that from what I hear. Okay,
Mm.
and I don't question their relationship because that was their relationship. But brother, man, when we showed up for that TV and they said you are Troy and Travis, Techno Team 2000, I do not know how I sound to you. I lived my whole life in Oklahoma. I was embarrassed when I got my first house here in Atlanta and I left a recording and I played it back. I'm like, who is that redneck? I did. I was like, I was effing embarrassed, right? And
Yeah.
then, and then when I started looking into broadcasting, right? I don't think a lot of people know this. In broadcasting in the United States, they love people from California because California is the only state in the United States that has no accent. A lot of people
Mm.
don't know that. Now people go,
Mm.
well, Valley or okay, I got you guys. But I'm saying they literally Australia they'll bring people because those suckers know how to lose their Australian, accent to sing and talk, right? Nicole Kidman, and so, but California, and I thought to myself, I am in trouble. I want to go pro wrestle. I want to be nationwide, and I sound like a redneck.
Mm.
And so I tried my hardest to start working on that. So I don't know how I come off sounding to you, but I was thinking to myself, how in the hell did they come up with Techno Team 2000? Like I was thinking, hey, my name's Troy Techno, y'all. Ding, like
Yeah,
spitting,
yeah.
spitting tobacco. Well, we're the team of the future. Like maybe if back then we had Yellowstone, it'd be cool. So, but let me just say this: we just, look, it was one of the greatest opportunities of all time, so we just rolled with it. You could have called us anything. Hell, I looked at some of the other people and go, we could have been Skip and Zip,
Right. Yep.
or Doink the Clown, so there could have, yeah. I mean, I remember my father when Terry Taylor was leaving. My father, my dad goes, I remember this is like, Terry, you don't understand. They're not trying to grab you from my organization because you're a great worker. You are a great worker. They're trying to raid my company. They just got Junkyard Dog. They got Hacksaw Jim Dugan. So they're coming at you. Are these small scraps? They will steal everyone I have if they can. And and he goes, so do me a favor. Just as I told Dugan, as I told Dog, as I told Coco Beware, do not allow Vince to give you a stupid gimmick because then I can't bring you back. And I remember the first time he came out, and my dad just, I mean, he was beside himself. He was like, they made him the Red Rooster.
Yep.
He goes, how do you come back from that? He goes, that's Vince McMahon doing some mental game with me to take a very good talent and just shit on him. Like I got to be honest with you. When he got Dusty Rhodes, and it was like yellow and black polka dots, and it was the plumber. I was like, what? Or I mean, it wasn't Dusty Rhodes' American Dream, right? So,
Yep.
but Dusty's bigger than life, so he was just as I threw up in my mouth when I saw Glenn Jacobs come out as Dr. Isaac Yankem. I mean, what the hell? I mean,
Yeah. Horrible.
so yeah, no, just horrible. But what I do appreciate about Vince is he will put money. Like, I mean, people do not understand the time. Like, he's putting rights on the music, on the names. They've got artists drawing caricatures of you and making outfits, and he's got marketing and merchandising, and he's probably putting 150, maybe $200,000 in each character idea he has. Make it or not make it.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to kind of look at it that way too. Now, some of it I do believe. Some of them were just shots when he was taking talent from other places. And listen, I don't. If I'm going to go heavy, I'm going to go heavy. I'll steal your main people. I mean, what do they do in the NBA, right? LeBron goes to Miami, brings two other guys. Now, LeBron goes to LA, he brings. Yeah, I mean, Golden State Warriors. I mean, say what you will, brother, but talent brings rings, and so I'm not begrudging him. I'm sad that everything's been cut down territorial wise, because now with only one or two territories, everyone wrestles just alike because they don't find a new way to wrestle, or they don't find different angles, and it's even beyond that. And I'm not knocking these guys. These guys are great athletes, but they don't necessarily know psychology, and they don't necessarily they don't even speak Carney. I was at DDP's house 2 years ago. Some guys came over from Cody Rhodes School, and they were talking to him about a few things. I'm like, well, why wouldn't you just do this? And I said it in Carney, and the guys looked at me. I'm like, oh, they think that's a great idea. And Dallas looks and goes, bro, stop. I go, what? He goes, they have no idea what you just said. I go, what do you mean? He goes, they don't speak. Honestly, they don't speak Carney. I go, okay, well, next time you're in the ring, why don't you just call this? And he goes, Dallas started laughing. He goes, what are you talking about? They don't call shit in the ring. I go, what do you mean? And he goes, no, they call it all outside the back. I'm like, okay, all right.
Got to memorize it. Yeah, crazy.
Well, I mean, hey, listen, in Japan, right? In Japan, though, but it was much more stiff. So you could call some stuff if it didn't go right. You hope to get back on track, and you just beat the piss out of the other person for a while. It's very stiff, but you had a translator. You said, "This is what I want to do," and the translator took it over. And so I'm not saying that model does not work. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that the true Shakespeares, the Shawn Michaels, the Hunter Hearst Helmsleys, the Stone Cold Steve Austins, The Rock, these guys could go back in the ring today and out wrestle anybody due to the fact that they can go in front of a live audience. And because how do you go home? How do you make an audience erupt if you don't have them booing the hardest they can boo?
Right.
And so I used to have matches, and they'd go, "All right, what do you think?" I'm like, "Man, I think they're pretty. My first year, 2 years, I'm like, "Man, they're off the wall." Stone Cold did this with me several times. He goes, "No, they're not. Let me show you. They gotta hate me." I go, "Man, they sound like they pretty much hate you." He was like, "Oh, not even close." And so he stopped us from going home 3 different times in Charlotte. 3 times. And so by the third time he asked me, he goes, "Well, you want to go home now?" I'm like, I said no, because the first time I said yes, they're hot. And he goes, "No, they're not." And the second time he goes, "You want to go home?" I go, "They're hot." "Yes, they're hot." And he goes, so the third time he goes, "You want to go home?" I go, "No, I'm sure you can make it more mad." He goes, "Nope, they're at the top. Let's go."
Nice.
like reverse psychology mind
Yep.
bent me, right?
Yep.
And so if you can't call it in the ring and you can't change those things, and TV's different, of course, we all know TV's different because there's a time slot and blah, 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 and blah, blah, blah. Got it. But if you can't even experiment, you can't learn the trade to the fullest. A lot of people don't get it. I call I call the best of the best in wrestling the Mozarts or the Shakespeares, the people that can play the perfect tune or play the perfect play. It's the people that like. I remember Jody Hamilton saying, "Erik, as a babyface, I want you to find a girl in the front audience, and you need to be able to make that girl that came to cheer you cry by taking the best butt kicking ever." And
Right.
then
Selling.
right. And you need to take the boyfriend that hates you because they're sitting by the girlfriend and he's making fun of you. And you need to lose him to the point where he cheers you at the end when you win. Like I remember Sarge, again, I had very little training. But when everyone else went to lunch or when everyone else was beat up or when they wanted to give everyone else a break, Sarge would say, "Hey, sell time for Watts." And it might be an hour. And literally he would let guys come in between someone eating and whatever and kick the dog shit out of me for like an hour straight. And to learn how to sell, and my dad, I got to be honest with you, man, I saw my dad several times in the back and he would just crank the piss out of someone and hurt him. Like he'd be mad about their selling. He goes, "Let me really put you in the hold." And they would scream like a little child that was just branded with a branding iron. He goes, "See, brother," he goes, "here's the issue. You should be able to sell it that way without me even touching you." And but occasionally it took that, man. Like occasionally it really took it. Like when they brought Chono in to give me the STF and basically hand the STF to me in America. I mean, that son of a bitch put me in some moves that hurt so freaking bad that, buddy, there was no selling. It was true screaming. Now, what people don't get is, yes, you're giving your body up, right? Right. But man, like people don't understand, like the headlock, a shoot headlock, right? You put this portion of your arm into the jaw, and that's where you pull it and you can separate a person's jaw. The shoot moves, like the true shoot moves, are very painful and hurt very bad. And so when they put you in it, it's not like a how do I sell it. Now I did a tremendous amount of amateur wrestling, and there's a lot of amateur wrestling in which it was easy for me to start teaching kids because I would amateur wrestle them, and I would put them in moves that hurt tremendously, and they would scream and they'd yell, and if you really want to prove something, you can make someone almost pass out or cry, or you could put certain people like in a camel clutch, and you could make them want to throw up because you're cutting off the oxygen and their stomach hurts so bad, right? A sleeper, put someone out, truly put someone out. I mean, the sleeper's a shoot, bro.
Yep.
3/4 Nelson on the mat, a front face lock. I mean, you can break a man's neck. But so many of these kids, I guarantee you, if I show someone said, "Hey, let me show you a true headlock," they go, "Huh?" They would never know that the headlock is to separate a jaw. I would say 99% of people don't know that, right? So they would never think of that, or how you cut off the carotid so many different ways. So those things are lost because we're into the world of drama and acting. However, the good actors in this world can truly sell their self crying, happy, sad. Like even Tom Cruise, whether someone thinks he's cheesy or not, how many times have you seen him in a situation in a Mission Impossible? I mean, I remember when the girlfriend, and they shot him in the neck with the whatever, and then she had to put the electrodes on him to shock him. He's hard to get it out. He was watching them, like kill his girl, and the tears in his eyes, right?
Yep.
Dude, I mean, I don't know how people feel about Tom Cruise, but brother, man, come on. I mean, like really, come on. And I watch some of these series nowadays, Billions and Yellowstone, and I'm like, God, some of these girls that tried out for this thing, what do they can cry on a drop of a dime, and people will tell you, think about something that makes you sad. Listen, man, people that can pull those emotions out of nowhere in 2 seconds, that is a trained skill. That's a trained skill, right? You might get away with it once or twice, but if you want to cry on a dime whenever they ask you to cry and it look real, that is a trained emotion skill of breathing and feeling. So, wrestling today is quite different. I'm not saying that the athletes are not as good athletes. They're probably better athletes. From what I hear, these athletes are a lot more healthy. They're more financially minded. God bless them. Because my dad's era. I remember my dad saying, he said about Ric Flair and he said about Dustin Rhodes. He goes, those guys have lost more money than most people have made.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, my
Yep.
dad and my dad wasn't talking crap about people. He's like, son, I don't know, Flair. He's been bankrupt 3 times or 4 times, whatever the hell it was, right? And he said, I'm not talking bad about these people, kids. I'm saying the reason why we have gobs of rental homes and property and oil rights and we had Watts Air and an airport and a marketing company, because the reason why is I knew how to divest and do verticals and horizontals and tax because so many of these athletes go out and give it up every night and then they spend it all in the bar, and then they don't pay the tax man because they think that the tax man's not going to come after them, and they don't know a Roth IRA from a SEPA. Well, I tell people all the time, I said, do you have any I bonds? And they're like, I bonds? Yeah, I bonds. Inflationary bonds? Well, no, my financial planner doesn't tell me about that. I said, no shit. You can't get them from your financial planner, you idiot. You can only get it on us.gov, and no one makes money on it except for you. So why would your financial planner tell you about something they don't make money on? They're like,
Right.
oh, wow, okay. And you look at these billionaires, and their own self-directed retirement funds. People are like, what's a self-directed? No, there's self-directed retirement funds where you don't have to buy stocks. You don't have to buy bonds. You can put the money and flip a house and you can do your stuff. So you buy a house for $200,000, you sell for $800,000. But if you do it through your self-directed, it goes back into a tax-deferred or protected investment, and you're quadrupling your money. Well, I didn't know about that. I'm TD Ameritrade right now. I got a TD Ameritrade account with a few other different accounts, Schwab and those guys are merging, and Merrill Lynch and all these different things, right? Yeah, I could call their pros, and they go, "What? A self-direct?" I'm like, "No, I'm not being an ass. It's the one percenters." And I'm not saying I'm a one percenter. I'm saying my whole life I've learned to have mentors and read and study, and I read the Berkshire Hathaways. I read Charlie Munger. I read about these guys and say, what are they investing in, and what do they know that I don't know? Like my sister one time asked me about some. She was killing it, and she won some tax credits. I'm like, okay, well, so and so, which I don't want to drop names, very famous guy here in Atlanta, built a movie studio. And she goes, okay. I said, well, you know what? You got a whole bunch of state tax credits for that movie studio. She's like, yeah. I said, how much do you need this year? She goes, $250,000. So you need about $250,000. Now think about that. If you need $250,000 worth of state tax credits, and your state tax is at 7%, think about how much money you made, right? And I don't want to say any names like Tyler Perry or anyone like that. But anyway, my point is, some of these people, right, they build these businesses, and within the business, they build a brand, and the brand, they negotiate with the state for tax credits for their company. Well, these tax credits have an expiration time and date. Well, sometimes their tax credits are so big that they can't use them all, but the tax credits are still good. So you put them with people and brokers or people that know people, and all right, you might be able to buy $200,000 worth of tax credits for $50,000, because here's this person going, hey, 50,000, I can't even use my tax credits. They're going to expire. You want them? Boom. How do you know that? Well, not by hanging around the people that don't pay taxes. And I'm not busting anyone. Everyone, God bless everybody, right? But my point to you is, the one thing that my mom said and one thing my dad said, I've got 2 mentors right now. I try to keep 3. One of mine passed a few years ago and I haven't replaced it. The key to success is always finding people that are smarter than you in different fields that are not yes men. And you always ask them, would you be my mentor? And you always pay for lunch or dinner or whatever the hell you need to do to meet them with once a month or once a quarter or whatever, to mentor you in what you're doing in life. And the most beautiful thing is that most people don't do it out of pride, or they say, I wouldn't think about that. I did it in pro wrestling. I promise you, there is no wrestler that I've ever been around that asked more people to meet up early and train than me. I had people going, why in the hell is Harley Race showing up? Or what Fit Finley, or Franz Schumann in Germany, or Chono in Japan. Because the guys that are the best actually appreciate the guys that aren't as good, asking them to teach them their craft. Yes. It's the little idiot boxes that are jealous, that just want to sit in a locker room and talk shit about someone else, that would never even think about it because they're too busy talking shit. I don't have time to hear you guys talk about these other people. I have got to master my craft, you idiot. I'm not here for you. I'm here for me, and I want to be the best. Yep. And so I take that in everything, in business today. In football, I mean, I was the guy. Listen to me, but even before DDP was here, I carried a VHS camera. I taped all my workouts. I taped my wrestling matches, and I'd come back because from what I learned as a young kid, there's a saying in sports: the eye in the sky never lies, and that they're talking about a camera.
Yep.
And you thought you did this move right, or you don't know why the coaches get mad at you, and you thought you thought you looked great, and then you look back and go, no wonder the coach is mad at me. I'm not closing that gap on that, in basketball, or I'm not doing this in amateur. I didn't block that knee, or in football, I read this, and then you look back and go, no, I didn't read the whole field. Just and again and again and again. So the mentors are my eye in the sky. So I can go up and say, hey, this is what's going on. This is my output. This is what I'm seeing. And then they'll just say, hey, I hear what you're saying. Let me see this, or let me see that, or tell me how you're, if I ask you this question, how would you answer it, type things, right? And you take it and you answer the questions. And hell, I had a mentor the other day. I was just banging around because every year you should update your resume, whether you're looking for a job or not. Every year you should update your resume. And I just put my resume, and then I gave it to a guy, and I swear to goodness, this mentor is so awesome. He shopped it to like 10 people, major people in Atlanta. And they came back with like 3 holes in my resume. I'm like, damn, they're so right. I did not see that. But the funny thing about it is they shop those resumes, right? I had 8 people call me going, hey, do you want a job? I'm like, no.
Yeah. No thanks. Yeah.
No. So look, listen, it's putting the work in. You got to put the work in. You got, it's, the best opportunities come when you're not looking for them, right? When
Yep.
you need a job, or you need to make a buck, or you need water, or you need whatever the hell it is, that's the hardest time to get it.
Yep.
Yeah. So
For
that's it.
sure.
Hey, that's my preaching. I'm done.
Well, as we hit the wind down here, we head towards the finish. What's next for you?
Man, I'm embarrassed because I think I sound like such an accomplished businessman. I started a company about 2 years ago. It's a credit card processing company. So all businesses, website, not websites, that take credit card processing, I do it. And let me say this, I've been very successful at it, to the point where I have never built a website. And now it's crushing me because I'm thinking, man, these podcasts, why wouldn't I be putting the website out so that someone like yourself, you may know someone that owns a restaurant or a tanning salon or a dry cleaners or whatever the hell it is,
Mm-hmm.
and I could be earning business by doing something like that. So as smart as I am, I can be kind of stupid. I haven't built a website, yet, because I haven't had to, but that's no reason. That's bad. That's bad business, right? You can always turn down business, right? And so minus there's 3 things I do. 2 years ago, my girlfriend said, "Hey, Erik, you're so goal oriented, but I've never heard you do like a New Year's resolution." I go, "No, I do one every year. I tell people I'm going to lose weight. Like people say, hey, what's your New Year's resolution?" I said, to lose weight in 2025. Like I'll throw 3 years out.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, because I don't want to lie. I don't want to
Yes.
lie,
Yes.
Right. So I'm a smart aleck, and I'll say something like that. But it hit me. So 2 years ago, me and my girl were with my son, my sister, her husband, 3 of her kids, and we decided to go to Vail, Colorado, and spend Christmas to January 2nd in Vail. I hadn't been in Vail forever. Girlfriend had never been snow skiing, so we're like, hey, let's go do this. And we're sitting out, we got an Airbnb, and this house was so freaking stupid. It's just so stupid. I mean, it's just, man, hot tub on the outside, had a deck. The deck was heated. So it didn't matter how much it snowed, you're on it. It was just ridiculous. It was just beautiful. And, we were having a few drinks, and we're sitting there hanging out. And I said, I want to do the resolution. She goes, what's it going to be? I said, it's only going to be one thing. I want to, next year, this is 2 years ago, I want to make a list of people that have been influential in my life, or people that I care about. I want to check on them, and I want to tell each person I love them. Like I want to say I love you and thank you. So if you think about it, right, there's high school people, man, because as soon as I was
Hmm.
out of high school, I was to college. I went home maybe 2 or 3 times for a week or so. Each time, I was gone, brother. Then I'm pro wrestling and international, and so there's pro wrestlers. Just a lot of people that I just life went fast, right? And I didn't talk to them. So um, I started doing that, and I can't tell you how awesome it was, and still is. So this year's resolution is to take the ones that had bared fruit from last year, and I try to quarterly call those people. And I'm still reaching out to people that I had not gotten through my list with, right? Because there's probably like 80, 90 people, and I was only calling like, well, because it was my goal, 4 people a month, right? But the coolest fruit of that labor is uh is that my girlfriend watched me, and this year she said, I want to do what you're doing. And she is absolutely having a ball with it. I'm like, and I'm like, you're telling, and now people in her life are like, why? That's a great idea. I want to
Yep.
do that
Good
too.
idea. Yep.
And I'm like laughing at her, going, I gave you the idea. Like laughing, right? And so I do have a lot of people tell me like, oh man, yeah, that's a great idea. Now I don't know if they do it or don't do it, but I will tell you a funny thing though is when you've seen as much in life as I've seen. Oh man, I've seen a lot of death. I've seen a lot of celebration. I've seen a lot of stuff in my life, right? And dude, you call someone up and you say, brother, I love you. It is kind of hilarious because there's just
Yeah.
some guys. They're just guys. Hey, okay, Watts, man, it was good talking to you. So and now my girlfriend she teases me. She's like, you really like to like go overboard with the people that it makes squeamish. I go, hell yes, because I got guys now even like I've been talking to them once a month for 10 months. I'll say, hey brother, I love you, especially if they're you can tell there's people on like if I catch them on the phone. Hey, I'm in the car with my family. All right, brother. Hey, listen. Hey, kids. Hey, wifey. How you doing? Hey, so. I love you, brother. Okay, I'll talk to you, Eric.
Huh.
it's
Yep.
it's kind of it's kind of crazy, but there's also people that you'll say, "Hey, I love you," and they're like, "What?" I'm like, "Man, I love you," and they'll go, "Man, yeah, yeah, right. I love you too, brother. I do. I love you." And it's just different, right? And so I've got people now. Hey, Dallas Page is one of my greatest friends. Lex Luger is one of my greatest friends, right? And I never, never get off the phone without telling both those guys I love them. And Dallas um, even told me, he goes, yeah, at first when you said that, I love you. He goes, but man, you really say it every time at the end. And he goes, I enjoy telling you I love you too, brother. I said, hey, we don't know per day if that's the last time, and I don't know, man, how horrible it would be if we talked one day and something happened to you or me, and I didn't let you know I love you. So, but there's some badasses out there that go, no, I know you love me, you just don't have to tell me. I'm
Right.
good,
Yeah.
baby.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, yeah. So I had a good friend of mine right now, Kelly Owen, and dude, I've been trying for 6 months. Once every few weeks. Hey, Kelly, when are we gonna get together, bro? I want to break bread with you. Hang out. Blah blah blah. I've never met your new wife. Blah blah blah. Yeah, yeah, Eric. Yeah, yeah. Very good guy. Very good guy. Busy as hell, but very good guy. I have not been able to lock him down to a lunch or a dinner in the last shoot. I said 6 months, probably last year. For
Wow.
the last
Damn.
year, and he had 7 mini strokes about 6 days ago, 7 days
Oh,
ago, and he's in the hospital, and they had to do open heart surgery, but they had to get his vitals right, and they pulled veins from his legs, and they got to change a valve, and it's not working right yet, and they're pushing for it. So he's in ICU for the last 3 or 4 days, right? Well, he's been in the hospital for the last 7, 8 days, right? But he's in ICU because it took him like 4 or 5 days to get his vitals right to have the surgery. And you know, that taught me something, right? Because sometimes I go, man, I've really tried my hardest to reach out to these people, and man, they're just too damn busy. And I have to put myself in check. Like, am I doing it because I really care whether they're busy or not, or am I doing it because I want to see them? Let's go to lunch. Let's hang out for a second. And I got to remind myself, no, it's to be with them. So it's kind of hilarious because his wife has been texting me, and she goes, "Man, I feel like I really know you now." And thank you, because I'll say, "Hey, you guys are at the hospital. Can I go mow your yard? Do you need your mail checked?" I don't even know where the heck the guy lives.
mhm.
Are there things that you guys need? Can I do anything for you guys? And it's kind of funny because like just today I got a text from Kelly, and he goes, "Man, I just can't, I can't believe, you know Eric, I love you, and I know you're good, but dang, man, you're just relentless. Like you're here for us." And I said, "Bro, there's nothing you wouldn't do for me." And he goes, "Yeah, but thinking back, I believe that maybe I haven't." I said, "Don't you worry, brother." I said, "Because here's the deal, okay? What if 7 days ago, you didn't make it, or 10 days ago now, or whatever, you didn't make it?" I said, "The last thing you would have known is me reaching out saying, hey, like, I love you. Can we get together for lunch or dinner?" So,
Right.
um, I've seen a lot, man, and most of the guys that wrestled in the '90s have seen a lot. We've seen a lot of loss, like a lot of loss. It hit me. I remember the day, man. Dallas called me, and he was cracked, like he was broken when Scott Hall died, and
Mm.
he had just called Scott Hall and heard that Scott wasn't doing good. So he called Scott and said, "Hey, brother, let's get you back to my crib." He's like, "Nah, Dee Dee, you're newly married. I don't want to barge in." He's like, "Bro, shut up, shut up." My wife knows me. This is what I do. This is what I do. You're my brother. Let's get you to my crib. Let's hang out. Let's get you back on your feet good and all this other stuff. I was like, "Dee Dee, just give me about 5, 6 days. Let me slow down on my health issues, and let's talk again." And I think I can do that. Now it's like, okay. He gets a call from Scott. I says, "Dee Dee, I'm in trouble." He's like, bro, come to the crib." It's like, "No, I'm in the hospital. I had
Oh,
a stroke."
wow.
And Dallas is like, "Brother, we got you, we got you." So Dallas got his address and sent two or three like maids or cleaners to his house, to where he's staying, and they cleaned for like 12 hours. I mean, any piece of laundry was clean and folded, and deep clean the ovens and just everything. Because Dallas wanted him, once he comes out of the hospital, he wanted him to come to Dallas's house, live with him for 7, 10, 15 days, 20 days, 30 days, whatever it took, and then him to go home to a perfectly clean, nice house. And now I'm not saying the guy's house was out of control, okay, but I'm just saying Dallas believes in clean mind, clean spirit, positive, right? And and Dallas called Kane Ash and said, "Hey, bro, Scott's not doing good." And he goes, "I'm on it, I'm on it." And then Dallas got a call, and Scott said he's doing good. And then the next night, I think he said he got a call late at night, and he goes, "Dallas, I'm not gonna make it. I feel something's really bad." And he died. Like after the phone
Wow.
call, like shortly after the phone call, he died. The reason I say that is That hospital where Scott died is the same hospital that I'm divorced from my first wife, but me, my wife Georgie, and Kimberly Page, Dallas's first wife, we're talking about having a baby. And Kimberly said, "Hey, Wattses, do you mind if I come to this? Because this was going to be our second child, to the birth. I want to experience the whole thing with
Oh my
you
God.
guys." Now, Kimberly is a genius. She went to Northwestern. Northwestern, bro. I don't know if you know about Northwestern University. That's a prime school. She got her, I think, her master's in marketing. I mean, Kimberly Page is one intelligent chick. And so she's analytical, right? And so literally, as soon as we said, "Hey, we're going to the hospital," she shows up. She's got books. She's got her MacBook. She sits in the room with us. She sits through the whole thing with Georgie and me, having the kid. And then after the kid comes in, she's in tears. She goes, "Okay, I know what I'm in for," and leaves. Like it was like a study. So, but it blows my mind that the same hospital that we're sitting there vibing, and I have one of my children at that hospital is the same hospital as Scott Hall dies at, right? You know, and just like Dallas called me, I don't know, 3 months ago, 4 months ago, 5 months ago, whatever it was, said, "Hey, bro, let's go watch Scott Steiner's son play basketball. He just got a full ride to Virginia Tech in basketball."
Yep.
I'm like, hell yeah. But there I go. So now it's so funny because there for a long time, Scott and Dallas had beef, right? So now I'm sitting there, me, my girlfriend, DDP, his wife, Scott Steiner, his wife, Rick Steiner up in the stands. Scott and Rick's mom was at that game from Michigan. You know, we're chilling. This kid is a beast. Like when I say he's a beast guard. I mean, bro, pound that ball. He's so fast and he's got a great shot. And we're all sitting there, and Dallas is like, "Didn't we watch your daughter here?" I'm like, "Baby, Rick and Scott and my kids all went to school together at this high school." He's like, "Oh wow, how great!" And I don't know if you heard a wrestler named Johnny Swinger. Johnny
Oh yeah.
Swinger is right. So Rick Steiner was the realtor on this house when I bought it. Yeah, so it's and Rick Steiner started wrestling for my father. My dad's the one that changed his name from Rob Rex Steiner to Rick Steiner. So a lot of tradition, a lot of stuff, but man, anyone that's listening to you and me, you got to understand it's not depressing. Life is fast and it's a blink, and so make sure you're always trying to find a way to give back, love, understand, and care, because it's fast. And I tell people, I said, it's kind of weird, my kids, I know this for a fact, can name my parents, their parents, but there's no way in hell they can name my parents' grandparents' names.
Yep.
So if you think about that, in less than 2 generations, no one knows who you are, unless you and, and,
Yeah.
and, and,
True.
and,
Yep.
unless you're Elon Musk or Bill Gates or blah blah blah, and there's blah blah blah, right? Unless that, right? No one knows who you are. So take the time to enjoy, reflect, and enjoy life and love, and give back, and also take the time if possible, because and there's a lot of head trauma. I've had a lot, and sometimes you just got to walk outside and look up at the sky to see how little we are, and that's in a good way, right? Because sometimes even me, I've been blessed with success and all that other stuff, but sometimes I've been dinged in the head so many times. I got to walk it off. I got to walk out because I'll get a little down sometimes in my head, my thinking per se, and so many people find me positive, but I've been through enough that there are some negatives, and it just takes me a second to I got to go outside, breathe in, breathe out, look up. Uh, I used to do it with my kids. I'm like, "Hey, let's go lay in the yard." And they're like, "Why, Daddy?" I go, "Just see what happens." And until you lay in the yard, especially like on a sunny day with some clouds, you don't really realize how small your problems and how small life is until you look up. And I have some of my friends do it. They're like, Eric, that's mind boggling. I've not done that since I was a kid. I'm like, I know what changed. They go, God, the things that were a big deal, or the things that I was worried about, or the things that I was stressed about, just went away because, holy crap, I found out, I'm just this one little ant on this huge earth that's spinning really fast. And we lose perspective of, what we're here for and what we do. So, that's, that's me, and that's what I do. You asked me to tell you what I'm doing. That's what I'm doing. I'm loving life. I'm doing all I can do to love on others, respect others, and appreciate others. And occasionally I throw in a podcast.
Nice. Before we let you go, where can everybody find you if you do social media and otherwise?
Yeah, man, you're the bomb. Thanks for asking. My social media sucks. I don't even know. My daughter just changed some stuff because she said, Dad, like when I say wow, I can't even say wow. Your social media sucks so bad. I'm like, thank you. I love you too. At the Naval Academy and cybersecurity. I'm jammed on the Facebook because ever since Facebook came out, I did a private page. I've been slammed to 5,000. So every once in a while, I'll delete some people, take some new ones. DEP's telling me I guess there's an athletes page now for celebrities and singers and athletes. So I may open that page up. Bro, I honestly can't tell you. I think it's like Eric Watts official on Twitter, Eric Watts official on Instagram, I believe, are those are the ones. I do need to get better at the social media game, brother, but I'm not the best, but I do want to get better, because it is a great platform to communicate with people. Facebook, the only reason I have Facebook is to keep up with all my high school or college friends or pro wrestlers to see what their families are doing, you know. But I think I might have to take it to the next step and do like an athlete's page, so I
Yep.
can open up and maybe communicate with more people. So thank you for asking. If you find me, you find me. If you don't, you don't. I got to revamp it. I got to bring myself up to date on that.
All right. Well, Eric, thank you so much for all the time. Really appreciate it. Thank you.
Hey, John, do me a favor, man. People always ask me to send links. So after this, would you email me or
Yep.
text me the link to this show so I can put it on social media, my Facebook? Because sometimes I promote it. People send me a picture and all that prior. I will pre-post it. But yeah, I just got hit up a few days ago by a whole bunch of people in Louisville saying, "Hey, you do a few podcasts, but where do we find them?" So I'd love
Yep.
to
Will
send you a
do.
link out. Yeah,
Yep.
man.
Will
Yeah,
do.
man.
No problem.
Yeah.
But thank you so much for all the time. Really appreciate it.
You got it, my friend.